What do I want to say with this story? I think running away is what I want to say with this. A change is possible.
How do you get an audience to love the story that you are telling? Well, in the case of God of War, easily. But it took some time. God of War, a game franchise that used to be all about fighting, and more fighting, was recently challenged with the release of God of War 4. Contrary to its predecessors, this game took a more serious tone and focused on the cinematic storytelling, introducing a new, emotionally intriguing side to the beloved character Kratos. Previously, the only character development he had was when he yelled in different pitches in the previous games.
Zeus, Ares, Athena, Gaia, Zeus!
But now, in God of War 4, we see Kratos as a parent, which, over the course of the game, creates a new identity to a man who before this was only a revenge and rage-filled demigod crazed with killing. God of War 4 challenges the original franchise by giving an old character a new identity, symbolizing how change is possible and how that you create your own identity for yourself. But before we jump into anything, it is important to note that before God of War 4, Kratos has gone through a lot, and I mean a whole lot. So even though this game was made to be able to play it independently, I will still explain core details during this summary where I feel are necessary to know. Alright, so, the game opens in ancient Norway in the realm of Midgard and takes place several decades after his vengeance on all the Olympian gods. Kratos is seen doing more casual activities like chopping down trees and being rude to his son, Atreus.
Get in the boat, boy.
We then learn that they are using the wood to burn his second wife, Faye's, body, and that Atreus was obviously very close to her, as we can see from this exchange before she is cremated.
Oh, there. Do I see my father?
We find out that Faye's last wish was to have her ashes spread on the highest peak in all of the 9 realms. Seems easy enough, right? Wrong! Before this journey, a stranger comes to their door and tells Kratos that the gods know who he is. Kratos tries to warn the stranger to leave, but the stranger, who we later learn is Baldur and also a god, starts a huge fight with Kratos. We then learn during the fight that Baldur can't feel any pain and can't die, and he becomes a huge pain throughout the game. Why won't you die? During the journey, they meet the goddess Freya, who helps them on their journey. Freya reveals to Kratos that she knows that he is a god and of his past, and tells him to tell Atreus the truth. He doesn't. While Kratos and Atreus are making the journey, Atreus becomes sick, and Freya says it is a disease that occurs when gods think that they are mortal. She says that the only way to save him is to go to Helheim, the land of the dead. But he finds out that his new weapon, the Leviathan axe that he uses throughout the beginning of this new game, will be useless. So in order to save Atreus, Kratos is forced to relive his past by unearthing the Blades of Chaos, his signature weapon that he has been known to wield in all the previous games. In God of War 1, Kratos was a Spartan warrior who became involved in a losing battle with barbarians. In order to win, Kratos calls upon the god of war, Ares, to help him in exchange for Kratos' service. Ares agrees and sends down the Blades of Chaos, making Kratos a servant to Ares. The blades corrupt Kratos and make him more violent and merciless than ever before. This uncontrollable rage results in Kratos accidentally killing his wife and child during a raid. And if that wasn't enough, Kratos is forced to wear the ashes of his family on his skin, making him known as the Ghost of Sparta. Kratos would then use these blades to enact his revenge on Ares and eventually all the Olympian gods, for other various reasons, mostly anger management issues. Kratos has vowed to never wield the blades again, but is now forced to. When grabbing the blades, the ghost of Athena appears to him and talks to him, but we'll talk about that later. Kratos saves Atreus and tells him the truth, that Atreus is a god. Atreus then becomes this cocky piece of crap for a little bit, but then Kratos gives us all a good lesson on how to discipline your children.
You will listen to me and not speak a word. I am your father, and you, boy, are not yourself. You are too quick to temper. You are rash, insubordinate, and out of control. This will not stand.
Okay, final stretch. We learn that Freya is Baldur's mom and that she put the curse on him, and that's why Baldur is so mad. Eventually, Kratos and Atreus have their daily meeting with Baldur and have a huge epic boss battle. During that fight, the curse of Baldur is lifted and can now feel everything and can die. Baldur is about to kill his mother Freya when Kratos steps in, snaps Baldur's neck, killing him. Finally! Whew! Kratos then tells Atreus of Kratos' past and how he killed his own father, Zeus. He tells Atreus that they decide their future, and finally reach the peak and spread Faye's ashes. What a happy ending. Glad it only took 13 hours of gameplay. As I mentioned in the beginning, God of War took an old character and gave him a new identity. This search for identity is the main theme that is present throughout the game. The player not only controls Kratos, but also controls his relationship with Atreus and the rest of the world. From the beginning, we immediately see Kratos struggling to connect with his son from their first encounter. As we learned previously, the only family that he ever had was murdered by himself, so obviously he's going to be a little scared to jump back into this whole family business thing. This is a common trend that Kratos shows throughout the game. He is very scared and skeptical to interact with things that remind him of his past. He has tried so hard to remove himself from this past that he has lost a relationship with his son in the process. When Baldur approaches the door, he tells Kratos that the gods know who he is. Kratos becomes scared because he doesn't want Atreus to find out about his past and risk losing his son, and have his son become filled with the same rage that Kratos once had. And we all know what happens when Kratos gets a little bit angry. Baldur is a very interesting character in himself. In the beginning, Baldur is just this annoying god who is senselessly violent and full of rage for no reason. If you think about it, that's a lot like old Kratos. We later learn that there is a reason why Baldur is so resentful of everyone and everything, kind of like old Kratos. Baldur finally has a chance to kill the reason he is so mad, but before the cycle can be completed, Kratos stops Baldur. He knows what will happen because he has been down this path before, and knows that revenge won't solve anything. After Kratos killed all the Greek gods and titans, including his own father Zeus, he was left with only guilt and realized that he had nothing else to live for. So he killed himself. At least he tried to. He survived and has to live with the guilt forever. This realization isn't something that was instant. It happens over the entirety of this game. But one scene to really take into account is this one. At first glance, this might just seem like a regular fight scene, but if we dig deeper into it, we can notice something. As I said before, Baldur is meant to symbolize the old Kratos, and Atreus is meant to symbolize his future. Kratos being in the middle is symbolizing the present, and he is mentally and physically fighting with the past, present, and future. And finally, with the help of his future, Atreus, he is fully able to let go and fight off his past, or Baldur, and focus on his future with Atreus. This belief is reaffirmed when Kratos tells Atreus of his past, but Atreus, who is confused, asks his father if they will be like the gods before them. Kratos reassures him and tells him that they will not be like the gods before them, and they will decide their own fates, and they won't let their fates be based on those who have been. The last and probably most important moment in the game is when Kratos is forced to retrieve his classic Blades of Chaos. This moment was probably the best and most emotionally intense scene in the entire game. It was so intense, in fact, that the voice actor of Kratos, Christopher Judge, actually cried while filming the scene on set. So you best believe I'm gonna let this entire scene play out. Grab your popcorn.
There's nowhere you can hide, Spartan. Put as much distance between you and the truth as you want. It changes nothing. Pretend to be everything you are not. Teacher, husband, father. But there is one unavoidable truth you will never escape. You cannot change. You will always be a monster.
I know. am your monster no longer.
Kratos, the literal god of war, after even touching the blades, has his hand shaking. Just the mere thought of touching the blades again has him petrified. Athena then appears and scolds him, telling him that he will never get away from his past, and no matter what he tries to be, even a father, that he will always be a monster. He knows, and has accepted his past mistakes by saying that he is her monster no longer. He knows that his past doesn't define who he is, and knows that his past will always be a part of him, and he can't change that. But this is the beautiful thing that the player is able to witness firsthand while playing as Kratos. They are able to see Kratos grow as a person, and they are able to see him find out who he truly is, which is not just a senseless killing machine, but a man and a father. Throughout this video, we have been discussing Kratos' struggle to find his identity. But why? Why did the creators want to make this the centerpiece for their game? When the team at Santa Monica Studios wanted to reboot the old God of War series that had been silent for almost 4 years at that point, the main thing that they wanted to do was give Kratos a new identity. All he had ever been known to do was kill anyone and anything. Knowing the risk that would come with rebooting a beloved character, they wanted to add more depth to who Kratos is as a person, to align his character to being in line with the ideas that they had developed.
There's one dimension to this character which was awesome as the anti-hero of the first game, but it didn't really grow. We didn't go anywhere with it.
This idea of creating an identity from an old character or person from scratch is essentially what society is doing to all of us. Society is brainwashing all of us to think and act a certain way, making us lose our identity in the process. They are turning us into robots, incapable of thinking outside of the social norm. Society has created this barrier of thinking that anyone outside of the social norm is weird, and any dreams that you may have are unachievable. After living in this environment daily, people start to conform to the ideals, losing sight of who they really are. Any mistakes that you make along the way, society teaches people that you will have to bear the weight of those mistakes, and that the only way to move past it is to live depressed or bear the guilt of your mistakes, and never be happy. People who have dreamt of traveling the world or being an actor or actress are now sitting in a cubicle, working a 9-to-5 job because everyone told them that their dreams were impossible or unachievable. Kratos is being told from every angle that he can't change as much as he wants to. Freya knows of his past and looks at him as if he's a monster, reminding him of his deeds every day. Athena tells him as much as he runs away from his past and tries to be something that he's not, it will always come back for him, and that he can never change. He will always be a monster. Kratos breaks through these social barriers, literally and figuratively, breaking the social norm, and thus creating a new identity for himself.
What are you doing?
I have nothing more to hide.
So what? Why should you care about God of War? First off, it's the best game ever made, and don't even try to argue it. Secondly, because the ideas in this video have an impact on all of us. Any goal any of us are trying to achieve at some point in our life will go against what society has predetermined, and we need to make a choice, and sometimes, to achieve what you want in life, you will have to go against society's predetermined barriers. If we didn't have people who went against these barriers, who knows where we would be right now? Would we still be using typewriters, or would we still be doing cave drawings? Society has an immense pressure on everyone and is changing the way people are thinking and acting. After Kratos enacts his revenge on each and every Greek god, he feels nothing. He realizes that through his quest for vengeance, he lost himself in the process. And this is what is happening today. So many of us are trying so hard to conform to what others want us to do, that we are actually losing our own identity in the process. God of War 4 and the entire franchise is a message about how important identity is, and how bad it is if you lose it. God of War 4 teaches us that going against what everyone else is saying might not be the easiest route for sure, but it will be the best route in the end. Kratos and the entire God of War series shows us that change is possible.